Welcome in, everybody. It is time for MLS playoffs, and we are back. Myself and Garrett here, as always, with the MLS Live podcasts. If you're tuning in, we are now streaming on Twitter, or now known as X, and we're still on YouTube, of course. You guys are always welcome to hop in the chat, ask questions, like always. Nice week last week, 4-1. We're still just doing our thing, chugging along. That puts us at 82, 49, and 8 on the season, hitting at a 62.5% clip. So obviously we will look to keep that going. It's playoffs. So, margins might get a little slimmer, less teams, on the board to work with, but we're here to, continue to provide angles and do the best that we can.
Yeah, man. And it's a different playoff format than years past. So we'll just run it down again if you aren't aware of how this works. You've got 18 teams in the playoffs technically. You've got the two lowest seeds from each conference and a knockout that actually plays tomorrow. Just sent out a play for those matchups as well. Single elimination, once you get a winner from that game, then you move into the bracket, which is a best of 3 series in round 1, where top seeds take on the lower seeds. That 3-game series, if needed, is 90 minutes and then straight to PKs, no extra time. Once you get through round 1, whoever makes it through that moves on to the next round, all the way up to the finals. All of those are knockouts. 1 game, 90 minutes plus extra time if needed, and then PKs. So, yeah, it's an interesting playoff format. I get the sense that the players are not fans of it, just as media has been making the rounds now that, the playoffs are here. It's been interesting to hear some of the players' takes. But, footy's going to do what footy does, right? And that is usually powered by greed of some type. So, they're going to squeeze everything out of this playoffs they can.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I get it. That's kind of one of what seems like a con, if you're looking at pros and cons, it seems like, one of the less popular aspects of this year's playoff format. One thing that I really do like is the staggered games. So for anybody that hasn't looked at the calendar yet, we've got 2 wild card games tomorrow. So we're recording this Tuesday, 2 wild card games kicking off the playoffs, MLS playoffs tomorrow. If you're new to watching MLS or betting MLS, I'll tell you what, look, we've got college football this time of the year. We've got NFL, but I'm not going to miss many of these MLS playoff games because they are electric. I mean, this is the time of the year that is the most fun to watch MLS for me as a fan, as an MLS bettor. It doesn't get a lot more fun than MLS playoffs. So, but yeah, I like the staggered format. We got, 2 games starting tomorrow, New York Red Bulls and Charlotte, and Kansas City and San Jose. I figured that, we're obviously going to get to our picks. Garrett has 2. I've got 1. At the end of the show, we've only got, I guess it's 9 games, or is it less? 8, right? Total on the slate.
I mean, yeah, if you're not counting the wild card, so running from Saturday to Monday, yeah.
So, at the end of the show, we can kind of kick around some other games, just kind of give leans if you're up for that. I just because there's, it's not a huge slate. HU Capper in the building. Always good to hear from you, bud. I know HU is I'm sure he's prepping for the playoffs as well if he hasn't put his picks out yet. But let's go ahead and get to it, man. We're starting with one that is going to be a big game. It's going to be at the bank in LA. Of course, we were talking about LAFC hosting Vancouver. Gary, this is your game, so I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, I'm going to take Vancouver +1 here. I just think the price is a little ridiculous to get the whole 1, so you get the push protection there. Against an LAFC side that Vancouver is not scared of. You're talking about a Vancouver side that I truly believe when they play their game can hang with anyone. And there's not a lot of MLS sides that I could say that about.
Yep.
But here I'm getting +1 at -115. That's super playable. LAFC actually have a losing against the spread record on the season. It's 13, 15, and 6. That includes at home. They have a home losing against the spread record where LFC has been favored every single game this season. I mean, I don't know what to say about this Vancouver side. I said they can hang with anyone. They just went to Seattle 2 games ago, held their own, got a draw there. They beat LAFC the last time they went to LA 3-2.
Mhm.
They just played LA and got a draw at home. Vancouver was home that time, but they got a draw. I Yeah, this is too good of a price for too good of a team. I think LAFC is the better club. Like, don't get me wrong, but I don't bet teams, right? I'm betting the lines. You're
Yep.
giving me a whole one here against the Vancouver side, who has shown they can hold their own against the top West sides. So yeah, Vancouver's going to come in no fear. I think the it being a 3-game series plays into this too, to where maybe these guys don't necessarily have a problem going to PKs because it does not decide at this time. Like,
Mhm.
of course, LA wants to win it at home, right, and get off to that advantage. But this is just like any playoffs. If you bet NBA, NHL, you just got to steal that one, right? Steal the one on the road. In this case, for Vancouver, and you're in it. So I mean, we can get into it. I think Vancouver is a sneaky play here. If you can find a 2 advanced line, I
Yep.
know it's going to be a good price. This could be a surprise LAFC knockout round 1 type deal.
Yeah. So LAFC, whether it has to do with just the ridiculous amount of games, total matches that they've had to play this year, multiple competitions, international competitions. I mean, at one point in the season, they were literally putting out. They basically just forfeited the U.S. Open Cup. They just let their youngsters play because their schedule was so extremely congested. But man, they have looked out of gas for like the last month of the year. So
Luonga
obviously they
has
get.
literally carried them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously they get a little break here to kind of get some air in their lungs. But I'm a huge fan of Vancouver. This Vancouver team has been a wagon for us, in particular at home this season. They just go out and score. They just go out and perform. Um, Seems like the market never all the way caught up with the quality that Vancouver has. So this is going to be a dogfight. These opponents know each other well. It seems like they play each other like 5 times a year. They just, I don't know if it's geographical or whatever it is, but obviously in the same conference, but they play a lot. They know each other well. This is like an NFC West slugfest. The teams know each other. They know their tactics. It's going to be like that. I think it's going to be tight. And LAFC has just, look, man, they have not shown the ability to pull away in months.
Against good sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll blow away the lower table, but against good
Yeah.
sides, they tend to those other sides tend to stick around. And for me, one of the biggest points is Kubas is back. He's training. He's expected to play in this match.
Yeah, that's
They
huge.
drew Seattle and LAFC in their last 2 games without Kubas. Like, that was a big deal. So I just, you can't give me the whole one here. I'm not saying LAFC doesn't win this game, but I'm loving the push protection I'm getting from a team that I fully believe will hang in there.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When initial gut reaction when I looked at the slate of games for the playoffs, and I don't want to spoil any plays, any show plays. My initial reaction across the board, not every game, but across the board was there's some underdogs with value here, and there are some unders on these totals with some value.
The unders, yeah, the unders are there. I The books are banking heavy on home field advantage in a 2 of 3. Like, that is why the lines are the way they are, because we know MLS has a home field advantage. But yeah, I you can't give me the whole one here.
All right. Well, I told Garrett before we went live here, I wasn't going to tell him my play
Okay.
until the show begins. So here it is. Interested to hear your feedback as always, brother. Seattle Sounders and FC Dallas.
You're probably on Sounders for the max. I know you hate Dallas.
Oh, I'm so on Seattle. I'm 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 glad you wore your Sounders kit today too. Give me the Sounders on the money line, baby. I mean, this is look, at this point in the year, like there's not a ton that needs to be said. We have covered these teams from front to back, up and down and sideways as far as the analytics and what kind of teams they are and their tactics and how they match up. You giving me a chance to fade FC Dallas on the road at Lumen with that home field advantage, with that environment. And dude, the Sounders have like been sneaky good this year. These guys finished second in the West behind St. Louis, very quietly. Like very quietly, they produced to and looked really good. To me, it feels like the Sounders are. You look at their recent results. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, undefeated in their last 9 games. They've looked good at home. They've got they've been running a lot of Jordan Morris up top with Chu and Roldan out wide, which we like.
Yeah,
They're healthy.
That's a permanent thing now that everyone's healthy.
Yeah, which and they've looked their best with that lineup. So minus 132. You give me a chance to fade Dallas. I mean, I've made my point clear about Dallas. I don't like their coach. I don't like their tactics. I think to be honest, I think I like their tactics a little bit better on the road because, it allows them to hang in sometimes. I don't like the way that they play at home, but, dude, Seattle's got it. They're rounding into playoff form. You're giving me Seattle at a playable price here against a team that is just not on their level. And I don't think they're going to be up for this. And I'm not saying it's 4-0, but I think Seattle gets this done. And now that they're healthy, they're defensively sound too. I just don't see Dallas really even sniffing legitimate opportunities here on the road.
Yes, I like Seattle. Seattle's defense is the best of any team in the playoffs. That's always big this time of year. I'm okay with fading Dallas on the road, going to Seattle. I don't hate that. If you're like, hey, you got no futures, you got to pick one side to win it all right now, I'm probably putting my money on Seattle. And I think that defense carries them. I don't know how much they're going to score though. That is my big thing with Seattle.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of nils on the season. And so for me, I want to back Seattle, but I would like to try to find some way to do plus money here. Okay. So Sounders and win to nil, for instance, it's like plus 145, 150.
Is that all it is?
Yeah.
It's only plus 150 to win to nil?
Mm-hmm.
No, just dude, Sounders and under 4.5 is going to be even money at least.
Maybe. I don't know. That 3.5 is pretty juiced.
That's true.
So I think Sounders plus under 3.5, which will lead us into our next play here in a minute, I think works. You can take FC Dallas team total under a half, and that's I think plus 125, plus 130. Like I would just, because Sounders scoring does bother me a little bit. I mean, Dallas is still one of the better defensive sides in the league. Obviously better defensively at home than when they're on the road. But it's the playoffs, especially in a best of 3. I could see everyone coming out super conservative in that first game, right? Just to kind of feel the opponent out. Like, so you see in games how sometimes it takes the whole first half for teams to fill each other out, and then that second half blows up with goals. I wouldn't be surprised to see like the second half of game 2 and then game 3 is where all the goals come from.
Yeah.
In this scenario, you're just stretching that game feeling out over 3, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, for me, if you can get 132 here, I do like that price. I would just for me, I'm going to find some plus money, but I do think Seattle has every advantage in this matchup. Like they should win. I just don't see them blowing Dallas out. So you got to decide how you want to play it. How risky do you want to get?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't really see a blowout here either because Dallas is pretty tough defensively. I just have so little respect for Dallas on the front foot and in attack. I'm not scared of them at all. I would be comfortable. Seattle's one of the only teams in the league in this scenario that I would like have my feet up on the couch relaxing with a 1-0 lead, like they're fine. Like they're fine. They're going to keep them out. So yeah, I could totally see 1-0 in this game, but it doesn't worry me. I know they're going to find the goal at home in this environment. This is where pedigree kicks in. This is where experience kicks in. And the Sounders are on a completely different planet compared to FC Dallas for me. So, alrighty. We do have a 2 unit for you guys today. And if you've been following along, man, 2 units we've just been crushing them. And Garrett in particular, I've got to give you your flowers because you've been crushing them of late, especially. So this is a 2-game combined parlay in 2 matches that involve Orlando and Nashville and the Sounders and Dallas, which we just talked about. And yeah,
I just did a quick check on that Seattle under 4.5. It's only going to save you roughly 15 cents.
Yeah, just play the money line.
Yeah,
just play the money line.
Between those 2, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Garrett, let it rip.
All right, so yeah, I want to jump on the Seattle game as well, and I'm also going to parlay it with Orlando. And you've seen me use the 3.5 parlay, the under 3.5 parlay legs, and I'm just going to throw them both together here. They're both under minus 300, depending on what book you use, and that got me to minus 125. I just love that price for 2 games where I can't see 4 goals anywhere from anyone in these 2 matchups. So. Yeah, if you told me Seattle was 1-0, 2-0, a 0-0, whatever, I buy all that. And then, yeah, I mean, Nashville is absolutely going to pack it in when they go to Orlando.
Yeah.
So I think Orlando's going to have trouble breaking them down. Nashville's going to wait for any counter opportunities, and they have not been able to score lately outside of that barrage against the Revolution, but it was the Revolution. So, I saw an interesting stat. I can't remember who tweeted it or posted it on X, but it basically broke Nashville's seasons down, like right down the middle. The first half, you had Hanny getting like 15 goals, right? Just crushing. Second half of the season, he's only had, 16 games? He's only had 2 goals.
Wow.
And so like Nashville's just not going to create and thrive offensively if Hanny isn't thriving offensively. Orlando can be dangerous on the attack. We've backed their team total a couple of times on this show. I've liked their attack, but Nashville's a solid defensive side, and defense is what really shines in these playoffs. Like if you can play defense, you can go far. So between these 2 teams, and then so I've covered Nashville unders extensively on this show in the past. You're on Seattle. That Seattle game. At home, Seattle only has a 0.77 expected goals against a game. Like easily the best defense in the league at home.
Wow.
You take Dallas on the road, Dallas only has a 1.3 expected goals a game. So like even then they're not giving up a ton. They're probably going to give up 1, but it's going to be hard to get 2 or 3 on Dallas. And we've talked about how Dallas might not even score in this one. So you slam both under 3.5s together. I'm total, and I don't usually eat juice on parlays, but no, at this price, I got to take it for 2 units because I don't know where 4 goals comes from.
I think it's even fair to say, and you kind of hinted at the point earlier in the beginning of the show, with these being a 3 match series, there could be some added value to unders because of that scenario. Because, like you said, that feeling out process is going to be stretched over two or 3 games at this point instead of the first 30 minutes. There's going to be some added.
You can't get rocked in your first game.
Yeah, there's going to be some added
whether you're home or away, you cannot get rocked.
Yeah, there's going to be some added conservatism from teams, Nashville on the road and Dallas on the road, that are already conservative on the road. So I like it a lot. I don't know what MLS thinks they're doing, setting it up this way. I don't know if it was completely thought all the way through. If they want exciting goal-filled matches, I'm not sure that's what they're going to get. But yeah, it feels like they're just throwing gum at the wall and seeing what sticks, I guess. But
It's
um,
just the way you get 2 more games, you get a little more money, like
a
that's
little
it.
more money. Yeah, yeah, and I wonder. I mean, I wonder if this had anything to do with the Apple TV agreement, or but um, okay, let's do this. Let's kick the can around a little bit. Those were our 3 official show picks. Let's talk about a couple other games. What do you think? Now, obviously, injuries are a big deal with this game. Houston and Real Salt Lake. Um, we talked about it just a little bit before the show. I feel like if RSL gets Severino back and Arango, and they're playing and they're healthy, um, I think they are a live dog to get a result in that game against Houston. Because the thing about Houston that concerns me is I don't really like their attack that much. I don't like Baird. Like, he's not like a great 9. He's not really even a 9, but he's playing the 9 for them. I'm not a huge believer in Bossy. He just scores penalties. It feels like a game where if RSL jumped out ahead and got the first goal, Houston may struggle.
Um, it's a hard one to call, like just out of the gate, right? You're looking at the best home side in the West versus the best away side in the West. We know home field has an advantage. We've seen what Houston can do. I mean, Houston's home road splits are insane. So you have to think, all right, RSL's thinking we have to win one of the two. Obviously, we're gonna get the away leg. Like, this is one that I totally see going all 3 games out of any of the matchups. Um, because of just the splits. I I have to think that you see at least one, if not both of those guys in such a big game, right? Such a big series. They've been technically game time decisions the last 2 games, and were held out of both. So we'll see. It's not. It hasn't been easy getting updates on those guys. Um, this is the hardest one to call for me. Like, of all the matchups, this is the one I'm like, man, you could give me either scenario. I'd be like, yeah, I see it. Uh,
Okay.
Honestly, what stuck out to me at the very first was, because I feel like people are going to be conservative. Was, I think the draw has some value here in this first one.
Yeah, and that's what concerns me about, playing overs in these first round matchups, other than the knockouts, because everything else is a series. I think my favorite matchup potentially for goals, if there was, like, say, an elimination game, would be Philly and New England back in Philly if the series was tied 1-1, because I think there could be like 5 or 6 goals in a game 3 between those 2.
I thought hard about Philly goals in this game one,
Mhm.
looking at their team total and stuff like that, because I don't know. I don't. I guess the Revs are going to stick with this young goalkeeper. Like, this is what happens when you trade your stud, where you sell your stud goalkeeper in the middle of the season, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I think they're sticking with the kid, and Philly's attack, when it goes, it goes.
Oh, yeah, especially at home.
Philly's form just hasn't been great as of late. Kind of looks like they're just dragging their feet out there. They've dealt with some injuries. I still want to see if Martinez is back. If he's not back, then yeah, I probably like goals in general in this first game. Martinez is big in that midfield as a defensive juggernaut. So if he's in, I like Philly. You can probably take Philly team total. If he's out, I still think Philly gets the win, but I think you see goals. I mean, like, we know the Revs can attack. Like, we've seen it
Mhm.
over and over and over again. And they're healthy now too. So, well, yeah, I like that look for goals.
Cool. All right. Well, anything else games that you can think of that you're waiting on? Or I know you told me earlier today that you're waiting on some training news.
Yeah, like one of them was RSL. I'm waiting to hear that one. Union, I'm waiting to hear some stuff. I just, you just want to like be able to, cross your T's and dot the I's and make sure everyone's good to go. Um, I Yeah, it's an interesting format, and I think it's going to affect this game one. Maybe we'll see. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and these teams just come out and sling it like they normally do. But yeah, I that's the first thing that stuck out to me was I think unders are going to have some value in this game one.
Why do I have a feeling that Charlotte gets it done tomorrow?
I don't know why you have that feeling.
I don't know either. It should be a terrible matchup for them. But
It is a terrible matchup for them.
yeah, it's a terrible matchup. But the New York Red Bull just never score their chances, and Charlotte scores off a set piece, and I don't know. It's the knockout games are going to be interesting. I'll probably be watching
Well,
the.
I hope that's not the case. I parlayed Red Bulls and Kansas City to advance. Um,
Did you really? I didn't know that.
yeah. So
I think you'll be fine. Like I'm talking out of my ass right now, but
I'm not high on the Charlotte side at all, man. I mean, it literally took them to the last game of the season, and they had to get help. Now, I could say that Red Bulls needed a stoppage time penalty against Nashville to make it to the playoffs,
right.
but I like the Red Bulls momentum here. They had not been in the playoff race all season. Not one time had they crossed the threshold to be in the playoff race until the final day on a penalty at the death. And now you get them at home. They just broke the record for most consecutive seasons in the playoffs with 14. Yeah, man, they feel a little feels a little bit of destiny here just to at least get past this one. Like I said, I'm not big on Charlotte, man. Charlotte was doing terrible things against Miami in a game they had to win that didn't mean anything to Miami. And if Miami had anything on the line, I think they would have smoked them. I mean,
Let's talk about the.
Go ahead.
No, go. You finish first.
Charlotte was using a center back to man mark a midfielder, and he was running up the field. Like Charlotte left themselves so exposed, and Miami just never took advantage of it because they don't care. I promise you, those guys were playing that game thinking, dang, we got to go to China next month and play 2 games. Like, when's my vacation actually start? So
right. Wait, Inter Miami is doing a Chinese tour.
Mm-hmm. Playing 2 CSL sides next month.
Wow.
Gotta take the Messi brand on the road, my guy.
Yeah, I hope they're getting a fat check for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the game. Last game, and then we'll close it out. This game's tomorrow. I mean, we mentioned we got 2 knockout games tomorrow to open up the playoff bracket. This is, to me, is going to be the more interesting of the 2. Sporting Kansas City at home against San Jose. This one will at least be exciting. Obviously, Sporting Kansas City at home at Children's Mercy, which is, it's going to be electric no matter what. It's a playoff game. You got to give Sporting Kansas City credit for being here the way that their season started, because they looked like the worst team in Major League Soccer to start the season. And here they are in the playoff, in the wild card. So what do you think?
They were winless through the first 10 games and only had 3 points.
In like 2 goals or something.
No one's ever done what they did to make the playoffs. Now, granted, they needed the playoffs to expand this season like they were to actually make it. But still, just a wild. After those 10 games, they really turned it around and just did really good work. They got Polito back. That was big. They got Russell healthy. That was big. Kende came back. That was also big. Like, they needed those creative players. There's no way I want to be San Jose right now with Kansas City. We talked about last show how I said it was going to be a slugfest. Like, the game was going to have goals. Yeah. And we got the total at 2.5 or 2.75. I can't even remember it right now. And we parlayed at the 2.5. That's right. Parlayed the over 2.5. And what did it have? 4, 5? I don't remember.
But, I think it was like 3-2.
Easily cleared that. Game went just like we thought it would. This one though, San Jose just can't. I thought San Jose would go from being terrible last year to making the playoffs this year. They did, but barely. And it wasn't because of the attack, which I thought was going to be much better.
Yeah.
That attack just has not done what I expected it to do this season.
No.
They've had 17 road games and have only scored 14 goals. I mean, Kansas City's going to score, so you're going to have to match them at home. And yeah, there's no way I want to be San Jose. I was surprised by the line opening and being playable for a Kansas City money line. I get it. Like I'm not saying they're going to make a run in the West, but they should definitely handle San Jose at home.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. We will keep you guys updated on the Twitter at MLS Live Podcast about next week's episode. It's going to be a little bit interesting. Well, let's see. No, I think the last game is Monday, so we should be good.
Yeah.
We should be back here Tuesday.
I would expect lines to be out by midday Tuesday for all the matches. So
okay,
everything's a week off. Like they won't play till next weekend, so rest shouldn't be an issue, anything like that. And then we'll see what these futures can do. I know we got some futures in play. Cash Bawanga, Golden Boot.
Yep.
3 years in a row getting the Golden Boot. That's just cool, man.
That is. I don't know if anybody else has done that. I mean, somebody's like betting all of them like a goofball and cashing, but you have been very selective and hit the Golden Boot 3 years in a row. So congrats to me too, because I tailed. So
nice. We'll see. I got 4 of my 5 team futures in, but they're all like the lower seeds. So we'll see. If I have to make some moves again, if I don't have anything on any futures right now, I would absolutely put some on Seattle. It pains me to say that, but their defense is just so good, man. They could absolutely make a run. But Vancouver's the dark horse. Vancouver could absolutely beat anyone on their day.
Absolutely. Yeah. We like Vancouver. We've got some 66-1 on Vancouver. So,
and they're like 25, 20 now.
I think they're like 20. Yeah. So rooting pretty hard for the Whitecaps. Awesome. All righty. Well, we will see you guys next week. And thanks for tuning in as always. And let's have a great week.
Best of luck, guys.